Stop scrolling. Imagine this. You open your eyes, and it isn't the Earth you know. Around you, there isn't one human species. There are six. Next to you stands a creature half again your size and strength, with heavy brow ridges because it's a different species entirely. A little further off, another one with a brain as big as yours but looking completely different. And somewhere on an island, people the height of a child, survivors in a place where everything large went extinct. This isn't science fiction. 300,000 years ago, this was reality. Within a few thousand years, 5 of them vanish. Only one is left. What happened to the rest? And why did you survive? In school, you were taught one line, ape, chuer, we caveman you. The reality looked more like a family tree with 6 living branches at once than a ladder. Homo erectus is the longest surviving human species, almost 2 million years on this planet. For comparison, the entire history of modern humans, cities, wars, languages, everything we've ever built fits into the last few thousand years. They were the first to leave Africa. At a site on the island of Java, researchers found a mollusk shell engraved with a geometric pattern about 500,000 years old, hundreds of thousands of years before the first art of sapiens. Adam Brum and his team worked in the Soa Basin on the island of Flores in Indonesia. They found stone tools roughly 1 million years old, published in Nature in 2010. The problem is, Flores is an island. It was never connected to mainland Asia by land at any sea level ever. No one knows for certain how they crossed 30 miles of open ocean. Neanderthals. Forget everything you know about dumb cavemen. Their brains were on average bigger than ours. Some hunted cave lions. Butchery marks were found on lion bones in Germany, not signs of self-defense. Others on the coast of Spain were eating mussels and seals 100,000 years before that became normal for sapiens. Traces of poplar bark, a natural aspirin, were found in their dental plaque, meaning they treated themselves with plants long before medicine existed. They buried their dead. They cared for the wounded. Their injuries resemble those of modern rodeo riders, and many fractures clearly healed with someone's help. Denisovans, a species we know mostly not from bones but from DNA. Scientists found the bone of a girl whose mother was a Neanderthal and whose father was a Denisovan, a first-generation child of 2 different human species. Their EPACE1 gene passed directly to Tibetans, and today it lets them live and work at altitudes where oxygen levels are a third lower. Homo floresiensis, Flores Island, about 3 feet tall, a brain the size of an orange. They hunted dwarf stegodon elephants many times their own size. They shared the island with Komodo dragons and giant storks, and somehow weren't eaten. Homo luzonensis, the Philippines, discovered only in 2019. Their curved toe bones show they were still climbing trees hundreds of thousands of years after other lineages had lost that ability. A rhinoceros with clear butchery marks was found near their bones, prey dozens of times their own size. And somewhere among them, Homo sapiens. Nothing special, not the strongest, not the biggest brain, not the best adapted to cold or to island life. The obvious answer is intelligence. It's not that simple. Neanderthals were smart. Denisovans adapted to extreme altitudes. Erectus outlasted us by tens of times over. Floresiensis survived conditions that would kill a modern human in a week. It wasn't about being smart. It was about connection. Sapiens didn't just live in groups, they built social networks. And this worked through the most ordinary, everyday things. Flint for tools turns up hundreds of miles from where it was quarried, meaning it was traded between groups who never met in person. Seashells turn up in caves hundreds of miles from the coast. People intermarried with outside groups. Marriages weren't confined to one family of 30 people, but spanned different communities scattered across a huge territory. That means, if your group was starving, you had relatives elsewhere you could go to. If your neighbor invented a better way to stitch hides or start a fire, that knowledge spread further. It didn't die with him. Neanderthals had almost none of this. Their groups lived in isolation. There was almost no exchange between them. If a small community died from hunger or a harsh winter, every skill it had accumulated vanished with it. Knowledge didn't travel. For sapiens, it did. For a long time, it seemed like sapiens simply replaced the others, but in 2010, sequencing the Neanderthal genome revealed Neanderthal DNA in modern humans of non-African descent. These species didn't just compete, they interbred. Some populations in Melanesia and Asia carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA, so part of them didn't disappear, they dissolved into us. But dissolving into us doesn't explain everything. Their numbers collapsed to 0 from competition over the same hunting grounds, sharp cold snaps around 40,000 years ago that finished off already small groups, and slow genetic dilution through constant interbreeding with far more numerous sapiens. Most likely, it was a combination of all three. By 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals are gone. Denisovans, the Flores people, the Luzon people disappear around the same time. Erectus fades out on Java. For the first time in almost 2 million years of the genus Homo's history, only one human species is left on the planet. This had never happened before. But here's what makes this story personal. If you're not of African descent, on average 1–2% of your genome is Neanderthal. Some peoples of Oceania carry up to 6% Denisovan. This isn't a metaphor, it's written into the DNA of every cell in your body. A Denisovan gene right now helps Tibetans breathe at altitudes where almost no one else could survive. Some Neanderthal genes are still active in your immune system today. We weren't destined to be the last ones standing. It just worked out that way. Luck, geography, and the ability to build connections where the others stayed alone. When you look in the mirror, you're not seeing the only surviving human species. You're seeing what's left of all seven. Sapiens didn't survive by wiping out the others. Sapiens survived because it was never alone. So who are you, really? Sapiens. Or the last version, pieced together from fragments of something much bigger?